Nobody else could clear 198. Brilliant jumping from the Australian.
Action coming thick and fast on the track. Next up, it's the women's 3,000 metres.
7.5 laps of the track. Kate van Buskirk, a world-class middle distance runner in her own right, will be the pace maker. She's done a great job in the last, I think it was last week in Eugene actually. She did a great job. But this is a tremendously strong field. 3 fastest in the world are here today, including the bigger Francine Niyonsaba, formerly an 800-metre star, forced by IAAF regulations regarding DSD athletes to compete at 400 metres or lower distances or anything above 1,500 metres, and she performed well at 10,000 metres in Tokyo, finishing in 5th place, and then last week won the 2 miles at the pre. And the fact that the time came through to 100th of a second shows that it is legitimate. There was timing equipment at the 3,000 metre point about half a lap before the finish of the 2 miles in Eugene. So the world lead is actually 8:26.79. Niyonsaba, therefore, is world number 1. There she is in the orange in the centre there. The 2 athletes in the centre. She's the left-hand orange vest. But to look out here too for, well, Margaret Kipyegon in great form this year as well. 8:28 she's run this year. That was a win in Doha. Worku, watch out for Fantu Worku. She didn't run in Tokyo, but first 3,000 of the season she's running here, although she was 3rd in the Prefontaine 5,000 last Saturday. Eilish McColgan, well, she ran a fabulous British record in Oslo back on the 1st of July. Finished 9th in the Tokyo 10,000 metres in sweltering conditions, and actually was only 6 seconds outside her lifetime best in that McColgan. Klosterhalfen of Germany, the World Championship bronze medalist at 5,000 back in 2019. She was 8th in Tokyo in the 10,000 metres, and then 4th in Prefontaine last week in the 2 miles. Klosterhalfen, very consistent, very slight figure nearest the camera there. Gabriela Debues Stafford, 5th in the Tokyo 1,500 metres. The Canadian 25-year-old has been coming on leaps and bounds the last couple of years. A training partner of Laura Muir, was 6th in the Prefontaine meeting last weekend over 1,500 and 4:01, and actually 6th in the World Championships in her personal best at 1,500 back in 29. So Debues Stafford might quite enjoy this this run out at this distance. Anna Klein is there as well. We've done the 1,500 heat in Tokyo. She's the German champion for that distance. Grøvdal of Norway, another athlete to watch. She was 7th in Rio, 14th in the Tokyo 5,000 metres. So they get underway then over on the far side of the track. Conditions really not far short of perfect here in Paris. There's a very slight breeze across this stadium, but they're reasonably well sheltered down on the stadium floor. And the temperature, well, I think it's around 20 degrees. Guerrero looks like she's up for this, the Spanish athlete who will be the 2nd pacemaker, I was told, and Buskirk will be the first pacemaker, Guerrero. Buskirk the 2nd pacemaker. We're looking for 67 per lap. Now that equates to 8:22.5. Obviously well inside the world best. It would be a new meeting record, which is 8:23.75 by Olga Yegorova of Russia back in 2001. There was a controversial figure. Niyonsaba slotting into 3rd place behind the 2 pacemakers. Debues Stafford is there. Eilish McColgan, the tall figure in blue, right alongside Klosterhalfen. Really strong field this, Chris, and it's building up nicely. And they go through there in pretty much spot on, about 67 and a half, I think.
Well, if they can maintain this pace, it is, as you say, a very, very lively one. 8:22. Come back to Niyonsaba shortly with more news on her. Very impressive season so far.
Well, Van Buskirk actually went through in exactly 68 seconds, so very close to what was requested. She does a good job generally. And they're dragging them along nicely here. Still Guerrero in second, Niyonsaba in third, Klosterhalfen in fourth. Well, back to this women's 3,000. Kate van Boskoop doing a great job. The first kilometre covered in 2:48.08. Guerrero is there, so is Niyonsaba. Kipyegon, look out for her as well. Margaret Kipyegon, world number 7 this year at 5,000 metres when she was third in Oslo. Klosterhalfen is moving up alongside her. McColgan just dropping back momentarily to about 8th or 9th place towards the back of this lead group as Van Boskoop steps aside. Her job's done. She has done a really sterling job. Her first lap was 68, the second lap 67. It was exactly 2:15 at 800 metres. And they go through there with another 66.64. So yeah, they will look for 67 second laps, and they're pretty much on schedule, but two very distinct groups.
Well, we shouldn't underestimate what a challenge it's been for Niyonsaba to almost reinvent herself as a middle distance runner. As Tim said, denied the opportunity to continue competing at her favourite event, the 800 metres. And the fact she qualified for both the 5 and the 10 in Tokyo is an achievement in itself. And she was distraught to be disqualified in the heats of the 5,000 and rather left to fend for herself by her federation. Was very critical of her own federation after that.
Well, Guerrero steps aside. She's only led for less than a lap, but I'll tell you what, she's enabled Niyonsaba to get 3 or 4 metres clear, hasn't she? I think that's Kipyegon in second place, Klosterhalfen in fourth now. I think that's Taye, yes it is, Ejgayehu Taye, fifth in the Tokyo 5,000 metres. A fabulous second at the Ethiopian Olympic Trials in Hengelo in her personal best of 14:14 earlier in the summer, but a 66-second lap there with 3 to go. And they're tanking along, and Niyonsaba still 3 or 4 metres clear, and if anything that gap is widening. You can see it visibly lengthening with every stride. Klosterhalfen isolated, back in 4th place. They're really in no man's land with that trio chasing her. Chebet right at the back of the group in about, 8th place? But Niyonsaba now coming towards 2,000, and it's 2:46 that second kilometre after 2:48. So she's pushed it on really hard, 5:34.5 at 2,000 metres. And she's not going to let up here. This is an athlete, remember, who has supreme 800 metre speed, 1:55. She was the silver medalist in the Rio Olympic Games, 800 metres, and she's transformed herself into a fabulous 5,000 and 10,000 metre runner. And actually, this is probably one of her perfect distances if you try and find middle ground between 800 and 10,000. Good luck with that. But with 2 laps to run, Chris, and around 6:10, things looking very, very strong indeed.
Yes, they are, but just keeping an eye on the athletes in second and third, Taye and Kipyegon there. They're not letting her get away, and that gap that Niyonsaba had eked out has not increased, so they're still in with a shout here, Taye and Kipyegon, the Kenyan. And this is a real test for Niyonsaba, but they're still on track for a world's best in 2021.
Well, coming up to a lap and a half to go, and Niyonsaba goes through there, and she's just run a 68.02. She slowed a little bit. The previous lap was a 66.5, and that's why they've closed to within about 5 metres. But has she got the beating of these athletes yet? Guerrero there, her job done as pacemaker, an interested spectator of this last 500 metres. The gap back to the chasing trio behind this threesome is pretty big, probably about 40 metres, maybe 50 metres now, as Niyonsaba comes towards the bell. And the race is very much on, because they're only about 3 metres down as Kipyegon now goes past Taye. You would expect an athlete of the calibre of Niyonsaba to have the speed over this final lap. She's relatively short and powerfully built compared with the 2 athletes behind her, but she moves well, doesn't she? Really strong stride there, 300 metres to run. Hasn't looked back once. There is a big screen on the first bend. Maybe each lap she's been checking there what's going on behind her. But that gap is growing marginally, Chris. Maybe 4 or 5 metres now with 200 to run. And Taye now moves into second place. This is a big move from the Ethiopian. She's only 21. Very quick over 5,000 metres and moves onto the shoulder of Niyonsaba, who has the strength to respond immediately, maybe holding that in reserve. She was fooling them, or was she? As soon as Taye appeared into her field of vision, so she changed gear and clicked away down the home straight to a 3-metre victory. And the winning time, 8:19.08, is quite spectacular. Niyonsaba, the quickest time in the world this year. She already topped the ranking. She runs about 7 seconds quicker there. And that actually, I make it the 4th fastest time in history. In fact, the 5th fastest time in history. And, of course, a new meeting record, 8:19.08. Only 4 women in history, in fact 5 women in history prior to today, have broken 8 minutes 20. That was astonishing from Francine Niyonsaba. Well, she was disqualified from the Tokyo 5,000 metre heats. That was very controversial. She went on to finish 5th in the 10,000 in those sweltering conditions, but she's recovered well. And here, after that 2-mile win in Eugene last week, Chris, wins again here today in quite remarkable fashion.
Well, it's so impressive. Wherever you stand on the DST debate, this is impressive. To reinvent yourself as an 800-metre runner naturally to a 5 and 10,000 metre runner is impressive. And let's not forget that the great Caster Semenya was also in the same situation. She tried to qualify for the 5,000 metres for Tokyo and wasn't able to. Niyonsaba did. And on this evidence, she's got a really promising career at 3,000 and 5,000 and maybe even 10,000 metres. Very, very impressive indeed.
It's her ability to respond there. As soon as she was challenged with 100 metres to go, Taye is celebrating too, because she's gone under 8:20. She moves into the top half dozen all time. A new Ethiopian national record for Taye. There it is, confirmation of Niyonsaba, the performance of the meeting so far, 8:19.08 for Francine